Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
They say Chicago summers are short. So was my marriage, apparently. My name is Graham Doyle, and I'm 41 years old with a 16-year-old son who's smarter than both his parents combined. I work as a finance analyst at Morrison & Associates, which sounds impressive until you realize we're the scrappy underdogs competing against firms like Delanova Advertising, where my wife Audra runs their PR department. Used to run it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started on a Tuesday morning in July. I was making coffee in our kitchen, watching the sunrise paint our modest Lincoln Park home in golden light, when Audra stumbled downstairs wearing yesterday's clothes and tomorrow's hangover. "Morning, sunshine," I said, handing her a mug. "How was the networking event?" She took the coffee with shaking hands. "Exhausting. Colin had us meeting with potential clients until almost midnight." Colin Fletcher, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Delanova. 45 years old, divorced, drives a Mercedes, and has the kind of smile that makes you want to count your fingers after shaking his hand. Must have been some productive networking, I observed, noting the wine stains on her blouse and the mascara smudged under her eyes. "Did you close any deals?" "Graham, please, I need aspirin, not interrogation." Audra Doyle, my wife of 17 years, was still stunning at 39. Auburn hair, green eyes, and the kind of confidence that could sell ice to penguins. She'd climbed from junior account coordinator to head of PR in 8 years, and she never let anyone forget it. Her phone buzzed against the granite countertop. The screen lit up with a text from Colin F. "Thanks for last night." Same time, Thursday? I memorized every word. "Work already?" I asked casually. She grabbed the phone, glanced at the message, and deleted it. You know how it is. The networking never stops. Right, networking. Our son Ben wandered into the kitchen, earbuds dangling from his neck, dark hair sticking up in 17 different directions. "Mom, you look like you got hit by a truck." "Thanks, sweetie. Your father's already handling the morning commentary." Ben poured himself orange juice and studied his mother with the analytical precision of a teenager who'd inherited my suspicious nature. "Rough networking event?" "Something like that." I watched Audra gulp her coffee and check her reflection in the toaster. She was nervous, which was unusual. Audra Doyle didn't do nervous. "I'm going to shower," she announced. "Ben, make sure you're ready for school." "Graham, I'll probably be late again tonight. We're following up on yesterday's meetings." After she disappeared upstairs, Ben looked at me with raised eyebrows. "Networking?" "Apparently." "Dad, I'm 16, not stupid. Mom's been networking a lot lately." "Smart kid. Too smart sometimes." I spent the morning at Morrison & Associates, reviewing quarterly projections and pretending to care about profit margins, while my mind replayed that text message. "Thanks for last night." Same time Thursday? My friend Janine Martinez stopped by my cubicle around 10:30. Janine was a senior analyst, divorced, and had the kind of no-nonsense attitude that comes from surviving a cheating ex-husband. "You look like someone stole your lunch money," she said, just thinking about networking strategies. "Uh-huh. What kind of networking?" I told her about the late nights, the wine breath, the mysterious text messages. Janine listened with the expression of someone who'd heard this story before. "Graham, honey, I hate to break it to you, but your wife isn't networking. She's cheating." "I don't know that for sure." "You want to know for sure? Start paying attention. Check the credit card statements. Note the patterns. And for heaven's sake, stop making excuses for her." That evening, Audra came home at 11:47. I was waiting in the living room, laptop open, pretending to work. "How was the follow-up networking?" I asked. "Productive." She kicked off her heels and headed for the stairs. "Colin thinks we might land the Henderson account." "Colin thinks a lot of things, apparently." She paused on the bottom step. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, just making conversation." Audra studied my face for a long moment, then shrugged. "I'm going to bed. Don't stay up too late with those spreadsheets." After she went upstairs, I opened our joint credit card account online. 3 charges from last night: dinner at Romano's Steakhouse, 2 bottles of wine, and a room at the Fairmont Hotel. The Fairmont was downtown, 12 blocks from our house. I screenshot everything. Wednesday morning brought more of the same routine. Audra stumbled downstairs, claimed exhaustion from client meetings, and checked her phone every 30 seconds. Another networking event tonight? I asked. Strategy session. Colin wants to review our approach for the Henderson pitch. At Romano's again? She froze with her coffee mug halfway to her lips. What? Just wondering if you'd recommend it. Ben and I might grab dinner there this weekend. Oh, yes, it's fine. Good steaks. I watched her face carefully. Audra was many things, but she'd never been a good liar. Her left eye twitched when she was nervous, and right now it was doing a salsa. Great, I'll make reservations. That afternoon, I called my friend Marty Chen, who worked in IT at Delanova. Marty and I had been friends since college, and he owed me several favors. I need information about Colin Fletcher, I told him. The VP? Why? Personal reasons. Graham, if this is about what I think it's about, you don't want to get involved in office politics. I'm already involved. I just don't know how deep. Marty sighed. Meet me at Murphy's Pub after work. And Graham, bring cash. Information isn't free. Murphy's Pub was the kind of place where Delanova employees went to complain about their jobs and drink away their corporate frustrations. Marty was waiting in a corner booth, nursing a beer and looking uncomfortable. Colin Fletcher, he said without preamble, is a predator. He's been through 3 assistants in 2 years, all young women who suddenly requested transfers to other departments. What about married women, like department heads? Especially married women. He likes the challenge. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. How long has this been going on? With your wife? Since March, according to the office gossip. Graham, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. March. 4 months of late nights, mysterious meetings, and networking events. Who else knows? Everyone except you, apparently. HR has been getting anonymous complaints about inappropriate conduct. But Colin's too valuable to the company. He brings in major accounts. I finished my beer and slid a 50 across the table. I need more details. Dates, times, witnesses. Graham. Marty, my marriage is over. I accepted that about 30 seconds ago. Now I'm in damage control mode. Help me or don't, but don't lecture me about office politics. He pocketed the money. I'll see what I can do. Thursday evening, Audra announced another strategy session with Colin. I waited until she left, then drove downtown and parked across from the Fairmont Hotel. At 8:15, Colin's silver Mercedes pulled up to the valet stand. At 8:23, Audra's Honda Civic arrived. They met in the lobby, Colin's hand resting on the small of her back as they walked toward the elevators. I took pictures. At 11:30, they emerged from the elevator, Audra's hair messed up, Colin's tie loosened. They stood by the valet stand, talking quietly, his hand on her shoulder. More pictures. Colin kissed her cheek before she got in her car. Not a friendly peck, a lingering, intimate kiss that made my hands shake as I held the camera. I followed Audra home, staying 3 cars back, and was sitting in the living room when she walked through the front door at midnight. How was the strategy session? I asked. Long, complicated. Colin's very thorough. I bet he is. She looked at me sharply. Graham, are you feeling okay? You've been acting strange lately. Strange how? Suspicious. Like you don't trust me. I almost laughed. Should I trust you, Audra? Of course. We're married. We're partners. Partners? Right. She sat down beside me on the couch, close enough that I could smell Colin's cologne on her clothes. Graham, talk to me. What's wrong? This was my chance. I could confront her with the evidence, demand the truth, try to save whatever was left of our marriage. Instead, I looked into her green eyes and realized something important. I didn't want to save it anymore. Nothing's wrong, I said. I'm just tired. Maybe you should see a doctor. You've been paranoid lately. Paranoid. That was rich. coming from someone who'd been lying to my face for 4 months. Maybe I will. Friday morning, I called Terry Vaughn, the attorney Janine had recommended. Terry specialized in infidelity cases and had a reputation for being thorough, ruthless, and expensive. "Mr. Doyle," he said after I explained the situation, "how much evidence do you have? Photos, credit card receipts, witness testimony from office colleagues. Good start. How much evidence do you want? Enough to make sure she doesn't get half of everything when this is over." "That's going to require more than photos. We need documentation, patterns of behavior, proof of financial misconduct if possible." "What kind of financial misconduct?" "Company credit cards used for personal entertainment. Expense reports that don't match actual business activities. If she's been using corporate resources to fund her affair, that's grounds for termination and civil liability." I thought about all those networking dinners, the hotel rooms, the wine. How do we prove that? Carefully and legally. I have investigators who specialize in corporate misconduct. It's not cheap. How much? 5,000 retainer. Could go higher depending on what we find. Do it. The following Monday, I started keeping a detailed log of Audra's activities. Every late night, every client meeting, every suspicious phone call got recorded in a spreadsheet that would have made my accounting professors proud. Marty came through with inside information from Delanova. Colin Fletcher had been using company funds to wine and dine potential clients who never seemed to sign contracts. The Henderson account, the one Audra kept mentioning, didn't exist. Colin had made it up to justify his entertainment expenses. "There's more," Marty told me during our Wednesday lunch meeting. "Kendra Walsh, your wife's assistant, is getting tired of covering for her. Audra's been having Kendra reschedule legitimate client meetings so she can meet Colin instead. Is Kendra willing to talk? For the right price. She's been looking for a new job anyway. Audra treats her like garbage." I met Kendra at a coffee shop in Wicker Park, far from Delanova's downtown offices. She was 26, ambitious, and clearly frustrated with her current situation. "Mrs. Doyle thinks I'm stupid," she said, stirring her latte aggressively. "She has me book client dinners that aren't with clients, schedule off-site meetings that are really hotel reservations, and lie to you when you call looking for her." "You've lied to me?" "She made me." "I'm sorry, Mr. Doyle. She said if I didn't cover for her, she'd have me fired." "What exactly have you been covering?" Kendra pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of text messages, calendar entries, and expense reports. 4 months of documented deception, all saved on her personal device. "I kept everything," she said. "I figured eventually someone would ask questions." "Why are you showing me this?" "Because your wife is about to throw me under the bus. She's been setting up a narrative where I'm the incompetent assistant who's been making scheduling errors. When this whole thing explodes, and it will explode, she wants me to take the blame." I studied the evidence on her phone. It was comprehensive, damning, and exactly what Terry Vaughn needed to build his case. "Kendra, how would you feel about finding a new job?" "I'd love to, but I need references, and Mrs. Doyle will sabotage any recommendation. What if I told you I could guarantee you a position at Morrison and Associates with a 20% salary increase, and all you had to do was provide copies of those screenshots to my attorney?" Her eyes lit up. "When can I start?" Terry Vaughn reviewed Kendra's evidence with the enthusiasm of a shark-smelling chum in the water. "This is better than I hoped," he said. "We have documented fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and enough ammunition to ensure your wife leaves this marriage with nothing but her personal belongings." "What about Colin? What about him?" "He's not married to you. He's just another cheating executive who's about to learn that actions have consequences. I want him to suffer too." Terry smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Mr. Doyle, by the time we're finished, Colin Fletcher will be lucky to find work managing a McDonald's. Leave that to me." The first phase of Terry's plan was elegant in its simplicity. We would feed information to Delanova's internal newsletter, a gossipy weekly publication that everyone read but nobody admitted to reading. The newsletter's editor, a bitter middle-aged woman named Patricia Sims, had been passed over for promotion 3 times and harbored deep resentments against the company's management. She was particularly interested in stories about executive misconduct. A VP using company funds for personal entertainment? Patricia said when Terry's investigator approached her. That's front page material. The story ran on Thursday morning under the headline, Late Night Networking, When Business Meetings Get Personal. It didn't name names, but the details were specific enough that anyone familiar with Colin's activities would recognize the situation. Audra came home that evening in a panic. Someone's spreading rumors about Colin at work, she said, pacing around our kitchen like a caged animal. What kind of rumors? Ridiculous accusations about misusing company funds. It's obviously a hit piece from someone with a grudge. Maybe there's some truth to it. She stopped pacing and stared at me. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that rumors usually start somewhere. Graham, Colin is a respected executive. He would never do anything inappropriate. I'm sure you're right.
Her name is saved as electrician. You've been calling the electrician at midnight for 4 months.
How stupid do you think I am?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
After all, you know him pretty well. Something in my tone made her suspicious. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Audra. I'm just agreeing with you. But she wasn't buying it anymore. I could see the wheels turning behind her green eyes, trying to figure out how much I knew and how much I was guessing. Friday morning brought the second newsletter story. Anonymous tips flood HR, department following executive misconduct allegations. This one included quotes from concerned employees about inappropriate relationships between management and staff. Audra didn't come home Friday night. She texted at 9:30. Crisis management meeting. Will be very late. I drove downtown and parked across from the Fairmont. Sure enough, Colin's Mercedes was at the valet stand. This time, I didn't just take pictures. I walked into the lobby and asked the desk clerk about their crisis management meeting. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have any corporate events scheduled tonight, the clerk said. Really? My wife said she was attending a meeting here. We do have guests who might be conducting private business, but I can't provide information about individual reservations. I slipped him a 20. Room 412? He glanced around, then nodded. Checked in this afternoon. 2 guests. Perfect. Monday morning brought the third newsletter story, and this one had teeth. Executive under investigation. HR launches formal inquiry into expense report irregularities. Patricia Sims had outdone herself. The story included charts showing discrepancies between reported business activities and actual client contracts, quotes from industry sources questioning the legitimacy of certain expense claims, and a sidebar about corporate policies regarding personal use of company resources. I was eating breakfast when Audra stumbled downstairs, looking like she hadn't slept in days. They're investigating Colin, she said without preamble. Who's investigating him? HR internal audit. Maybe even the board of directors? Wow, that sounds serious. Graham, this could affect my job too. If they think I was involved in any impropriety. Were you involved in any impropriety? She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Of course not. But you know how these witch hunts work. Innocent people get caught up in the mess. Innocent. That was hilarious. I'm sure everything will work out fine, I said. The truth usually comes out in these situations. Ben wandered into the kitchen, took one look at his mother's panicked expression, and grabbed a Pop-Tart from the cabinet. Mom, you look terrible. Thanks, honey. Very helpful. Seriously, what's wrong? You've been weird for weeks. Audra glanced at me nervously. Just work stress. Nothing for you to worry about. Ben wasn't buying it, but he was smart enough not to push. Instead, he grabbed his backpack and headed for the door. See you tonight, Dad. Mom, maybe try getting some sleep. After he left, Audra sat down across from me at the kitchen table. Graham, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Okay. Do you think I'm having an affair? The question hung in the air between us like a loaded weapon. This was the moment of truth, the point where I could either continue the charade or lay my cards on the table. Are you? I asked. Answer my question first. I looked into her green eyes and saw fear, desperation, and something else. Calculation. She was trying to figure out how much I knew so she could craft an appropriate response. Yes, I said quietly. I think you're having an affair with Colin Fletcher. Her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, denial, anger, and finally resignation. How long have you known? 4 months. Why didn't you say anything? Because I wanted to be sure, and because I wanted to see how far you'd take it. Audra leaned back in her chair, studying my face. What are you going to do? I've already done it. What's that supposed to mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots Kendra had provided, the credit card receipts, the photos from the Fairmont Hotel. It means your affair is about to become very expensive, Audra. For both you and Colin. She stared at the evidence, her face growing paler with each image. You've been spying on me. I've been documenting your lies. Graham, we can work this out. We can go to counseling. Try to save our marriage. I don't want to save our marriage. I want to end it. Cleanly, quickly, and with maximum damage to the people who destroyed it. You're angry, I understand that. But think about Ben. Think about our family. I am thinking about Ben. I'm thinking about how he deserves better than a mother who lies and cheats and uses him as a shield when she gets caught. Audra's eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't moved. I'd seen her cry before, usually when she wanted something. What do you want? She asked. I want you to move out. Today. I want you to find your own attorney, and I want you to prepare for the most expensive mistake of your life. Graham! We're done talking, Audra. From now on, all communication goes through lawyers. She left that afternoon with 2 suitcases and a look of shell-shocked disbelief. I watched from the living room window as she loaded her car, then drove away from the house we'd shared for 15 years. Ben came home from school to find me sitting at the kitchen table with a beer and a stack of legal documents. Where's Mom? She moved out. He sat down across from me, his expression serious. Are you getting divorced? Yes. Because of the affair? Smart kid. Too smart. Among other things. Dad, I'm not stupid. I know what's been going on. What do you know? Mom's been cheating with some guy from her work. You've been pretending not to notice. And now everything's falling apart. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and realized he'd been carrying this burden for months, waiting for one of his parents to be honest with him. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Ben. Are you okay? I will be. Are you? He shrugged. I'm 16. Everything sucks anyway. At least now it sucks for a reason. Despite everything, I smiled. That's a remarkably mature perspective. I get it from you. Wednesday brought news that Colin Fletcher had been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of HR's investigation. Thursday brought news that Audra had been suspended from her position while the company reviewed her involvement in the expense report irregularities. Friday brought the divorce papers. Terry Vaughn had crafted a document that was both comprehensive and devastating. We were seeking full custody of Ben, the house, both cars, and 70% of our joint assets. We were also demanding that Audra pay my legal fees and reimburse the marital estate for funds she'd spent on her affair. She'll never agree to this, I told Terry. She doesn't have a choice. We have her on fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and dissipation of marital assets. If she fights us, we'll drag this through the courts for years and air every dirty detail in public. What about Colin? Colin's finished. Delanova fired him this morning. His wife filed for divorce this afternoon. By Monday, he'll be the subject of a criminal investigation for embezzlement. I felt a surge of satisfaction that was probably unhealthy, but undeniably satisfying. How long before this is over? If Audra's smart, she'll settle within 30 days. If she's stubborn, we'll destroy her in court, and she'll get even less. And if she tries to fight for custody of Ben? Terry smiled his shark smile. Then we introduce evidence of her affair, her lies, and her complete disregard for her family's well-being. No judge in Illinois will award custody to a mother who used her child as cover for adultery. The settlement conference was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago. Terry had warned me that Audra would probably try one last manipulation, either tears or anger or some combination of both. I wasn't prepared for what actually happened. Audra walked into the conference room looking like she'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks. Her hair was shorter, her clothes were cheaper, and her confidence was completely gone. Behind her walked a nervous-looking attorney who kept checking his watch like he had somewhere else to be. "Graham," she said when she saw me, "thank you for agreeing to meet." My attorney advised it. "I want you to know that I never meant for things to go this far." "Which things? The affair, the lies, or the fraud?" Her attorney, a thin man named Peterson, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should focus on reaching an amicable settlement." Terry opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "My client's terms are outlined in the petition. Full custody, primary residence, and financial compensation for marital assets dissipated during Mrs. Doyle's affair." "Those terms are unreasonable," Peterson said. "The terms are generous," Terry replied. "We could have sought criminal charges for the expense report fraud. We could have sued Colin Fletcher for alienation of affection. We could have made this a front-page story in the business section." Audra looked at me across the conference table. "Graham, please. I made mistakes, but I don't deserve to lose everything." "You didn't lose everything, Audra. You threw it away. What about Ben? He needs his mother. Ben needs stability. He needs honesty. He needs parents who don't lie to him. I never lied to Ben. You lied to everyone. You lied so much I don't think you remember what the truth looks like anymore." Peterson tried to negotiate, offering different custody arrangements, different financial splits, different timelines. Terry shot down every proposal with the patience of someone who held all the cards. "Mrs. Doyle," Terry said finally, "let me explain your situation. You're unemployed and unemployable in your industry. You have no assets except your car and whatever personal belongings you took from the marital residence. You're facing potential criminal charges for fraud. And you're about to be named as a co-defendant in a civil suit against Colin Fletcher." "What civil suit?" Peterson asked. "Delanova is seeking restitution for misappropriated funds. Your client benefited from those funds, which makes her liable for repayment." Audra's face went white. "How much money are we talking about?" "Approximately $40,000 in fraudulent expense reports over 4 months." Peterson whispered something in Audra's ear. She shook her head violently, then whispered back. They had a brief heated discussion while Terry and I waited. "We need time to consider these terms," Peterson said finally. "You have 24 hours, Terry replied. "After that, we file for trial, and this becomes a public spectacle." Audra looked at me one more time. "Graham, I know you hate me right now, but we had 17 good years together. That has to count for something." It did count for something. Until you decided it wasn't worth preserving. She started to cry then. Not the manipulative tears I'd seen before, but the genuine grief of someone who finally understood what she'd lost. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix this." The next morning, Peterson called Terry to accept our terms. Audra would relinquish all claims to marital property, agree to supervised visitation with Ben, and pay restitution for the fraudulent expenses. In exchange, we wouldn't pursue criminal charges or sue for additional damages. "It's over?" I asked Terry. "It's over. Congratulations, Mr. Doyle. You're officially divorced." I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty, like I'd won a war but lost something important in the process. Ben took the news with typical teenage stoicism. "So Mom's really gone? She'll still be part of your life, just not part of mine. Are you happy?" I considered the question. "I'm relieved. Happy might take a while." "Dad?" "Yeah? For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Mom made her choices. You just made sure there were consequences." "Smart kid. Definitely gets it from me." 3 months later, I ran into Colin Fletcher at a grocery store in Lincoln Park. He was wearing a cheap suit and pushing a cart full of generic brands. He looked like a man who had learned the hard way that actions have consequences. "Graham," he said, clearly uncomfortable. "Colin, how's the job search going?" "Challenging. I bet it is. Turns out corporate fraud is bad for the resume." He started to say something, then thought better of it and walked away. I watched him go, feeling neither satisfaction nor sympathy. Just a vague sense that justice had been served. Audra found work eventually at a small PR firm in the suburbs. She makes about a third of what she used to make, lives in a studio apartment, and sees Ben every other weekend. She's dating someone new, a divorced accountant who probably has no idea what he's getting into. Ben's doing well. He's a senior now, planning to study music production in college. He talks to his mother regularly, but lives with me full time. Sometimes I catch him looking at me with a mixture of pride and concern, like he's not sure whether I'm a hero or a cautionary tale. Maybe I'm both. The house feels different now, quieter, more honest. I've started dating again, nothing serious, just dinner and conversation with women who don't require background checks. It's nice to have relationships based on truth instead of elaborate deceptions. People ask me if I regret how I handled the divorce. They think I was too harsh, too calculating, too ruthless in my pursuit of justice. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have tried counseling, forgiveness, a fresh start. But here's the thing about networking. It's all about building relationships, creating connections, and leveraging those connections to achieve your goals. Audra was an expert at networking. She just forgot that I could learn to network too. She networked with Colin Fletcher and thought she was building something valuable. I networked with lawyers, investigators, and bitter newsletter editors, and I built something more valuable: consequences. In